I don't know, I haven't taken roll call yet.
Oh, okay.
We know Roger's there.
Yep.
Yeah, be a star, Mayor. Be a star.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome everybody to the regular session of City Council for May 18, 2020.
You want me to take roll call again?
Yes, if you could, please.
I want to remind everybody to put your mutes on until you need to talk. Julie?
I'm here.
Jane?
Jane is here.
Lauren? Lauren? Shannon?
Shannon's here.
Andy?
Andy is here.
Phil? Phil's here. Myland?
Mylan's here.
Lauren's not here, huh?
I am here, Connie. I'm just struggling to find my mute button,
Oh.
but I'm on now.
Okay.
We all understand it.
Alrighty then.
That's great. We have a full city council virtually, on the phone, so we'll be able to proceed. The next item on the agenda is to adopt the agenda and the consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
So moved, Ms. Shannon.
And a second?
Julie will second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda and consent agenda for this session this night. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye. Aye.
I think we counted them, it's all good, thank you. Now, I wanted to explain a little bit about the agenda itself. One of the reasons we wanted to meet tonight was to have that consent agenda adopted so that the city can pay bills. That authorizes us to pay the different bills and expenses that are on in the consent agenda. But we're also hoping to have a good discussion on the COVID-19 situation, what you feel needs to be done, what would help you to understand more of what's happening in the city or in the county. And we have two really special guests tonight. Jeff King is on the line, I believe, and David Kavanaugh. They were both going to listen in and answer questions if anybody has questions on the Emergency Operations Center or on public health, Clear County Public Health. So with that, why don't we see if we can begin our discussion. Larry, did you have anything you wanted to introduce that with, or?
Well, are they here?
I think they're on the line.
Who is it?
Can you see if Jeff King and David
I only
Kavanaugh-
have phone numbers. They have to tell me they're on there. I don't know phone numbers.
Let's ask.
It's just, Jeff, are you there?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Mayor Cannon, this is Jeff King. Can you hear me?
Thank
Yes.
you very much.
And who's the other one?
David Kavanaugh. David, are you there?
Don't believe David's going to make it. This is Jeff again.
Okay.
He has a meeting with the State Department of Health tonight that started just before 6, and they've been running until 8 or 9.
Uh-oh, okay. So we appreciate you being here, Jeff. We know you have a very heavy workload, and we appreciate that you set out some time for us. During the course of this meeting, this week, I received a letter, and it was a response to the letter I had sent out about council communication that had been triggered by Andy Holmes' questions about what we could do better as a city and as a council. And a number of things were asked there as far as to get more information to the council members, And what I plan to do, one of the things that Jeff and I talked this afternoon, the situation meeting that happens tonight comes out either tonight or tomorrow morning, and I get it on my computer, and I'll forward it to everybody if you're not getting it. I'm going to assume you're not getting it until you tell me don't send them anymore. But it gives a good breakdown of where we are on COVID in this county and in this city. Pardon me?
Would you send it to me too?
Yes, yes, oh yes, absolutely, Connie, sure will.
Thank you.
But we'll try to, because that's one of the most informative tools that we have to learn the situation with COVID. The other will be to get copies of all of the Chamber of Commerce flyers that they put out on COVID, because those very much follow what the emergency services are doing. They have a lot of good information there, so I'll be putting those together and sending them to you, hopefully every morning or every couple of mornings. And if you have questions, please don't hesitate to call or send me a note or whatever, just to see if I've missed something or you've missed something, and we can be a lot more informed on what all is happening and what we need to be doing, both as city council as well as citizens of our county and our city, in order to finally get this process loosened to stage 2. There's a couple of very important things about what we have to do, and one of them the county has needed for several months, and it's been put in place, and it's those trailers that are out at the county fairgrounds. There's 4 out there now. Eventually there'll be 10, I believe. And that is to provide housing for anybody that has tested positive and needs a place to be isolated. Either they're living with a whole group of people, or they don't have the possibility to shelter in their own home by themselves. Very often people that are working here in the county from out of state or out of the county may need that individual place to be isolated or quarantined if they have tested positive for COVID. It's all a voluntary process, and it's provided by Emergency Operations Center as a real public service. It's not any of the strange things that we've been hearing on Facebook and social media, and it's a shame that so much was misunderstood. It's simply a service to help those who can't isolate by themselves, to give them the opportunity to have a place that's set up for them. The medical department will be checking at least a couple of times a day. They'll be getting, they'll have a host that Jeff is working on to be able to be there at the camp to make sure that everything's all right, that nobody is either bothering the people that are there, or that if they have anything of need, they can help them with it. I think it's important that we know these details, because very, very often we either don't hear something or don't understand what it was, and then we get a negative feeling, which is wrong, absolutely wrong. If you think about all the people you know in Goldendale or in Clickitat County that would ever even think of setting up a concentration or internment camp, that's not real. And it's a shame that people have been frightened that way. We want to make sure everybody's as informed as we can make them. It'll help everybody, I think. I think that's the start of the conversation. Who would like to join in? And Jeff, you come in whenever you have anything you want to share. Or if I get something wrong.
And just for clarification, we currently have 8 RVs, camping trailers, basically, at the
Good.
fairgrounds set up. They came in 3 different deliveries last week. The last 2 that the vendor had available will round out 10, and they should be arriving sometime after May 26th. They're coming back from a tire rental. So there's not 10 there now. There will be by the end of the month.
And I watched as emergency operations in the county we're trying to rent a hotel either in White Salmon, in Stevenson, or in Goldendale, and all of the hotels were not willing to rent, or else they asked for very, very high rental fees, too high. And so as a practical step, the emergency operations in the county decided to rent these trailers. It's a temporary thing. It's being covered by a Department of Commerce to start with, but that'll provide that essential service we need to be able to work towards getting off of stage 1 into stage 2, where we have a little bit more stores open and more activity allowed. So I hope you'll keep that in mind. If you hear somebody that doesn't understand about the trailers, please let them know. Really do.
Mayor, this is Andy Hall. Oh, Mayor, this is Andy Hall. I just want to make a few comments. I'd like to thank you for your response to all of us council and getting more information. I just hope that in the future that there's more information for us a little sooner, so that, last week when the social media went crazy, that, I didn't have answers. I was being tagged in all sorts of different posts and messaged and text, and I think we got ahead of that now. And I also would like to thank Jeff King for all his hard work that he's been putting in, and everyone involved. I just feel the most information that us council members can get will be better, so then we're more prepared to take questions from the community and, social media and just everything in general.
Exactly. That's especially helpful. Thank you. Thank you, Andy.
This is Shannon.
Yeah,
Yes.
Andy.
Are those trailers the only thing holding us up from being able to go to phase 2?
No, we have to go 3 weeks without a positive case occurring in our city. I believe that's the way that is. Or the county, maybe it's countywide. And then it'll go.
Mayor, this is Jeff.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, there are many requirements for a county to apply for a variance, or to include in their application for a variance. One of them is the no new cases in 3 weeks' time, and it's done county by county. It's not allowed to be done by cities, at least currently. But that's one bar, and considered to be the first bar that we have to meet, really, because no matter whatever the other things, we don't qualify to apply for a variance unless we meet that standard. But the quarantine and isolation shelter availability is another one of those requirements. The meeting that Public Health Director Kavanaugh is attending tonight is to potentially, the draft that he shared with me earlier today from the State Department of Health, is to potentially change some of those rules and how the state on a whole or individual counties can move from one phase to the next. So as many things in this pandemic, it changes sometimes hourly, but if not, at least weekly, the things that we're trying to manage. But we'll keep tracking all of those and make sure that when it's appropriate, that the policy group, which is made up of 3 county commissioners and 3 mayors, are apprised of the new situations and when we, if we ever can, apply for a variance, when we're eligible to do that.
And I understand, Jeff, we have 25 positive cases at this time.
That's correct. There were 2 new cases reported, came back from the lab on Saturday in Zone 2, outside the city limits. And there was 1 more case that came in from the lab report late Sunday that was inside the city limits of Goldendale, and it is case number 25 for the county.
Okay, those are 25 cases, but those aren't all active, correct? There's a number of those that have.
That's correct. Currently, as of today, 19 of those cases have recovered.
So we have 6 active.
No, we have 3 people that died.
Oh, so you're counting the 3 deaths.
In the 25, yeah, they were positive cases. They passed away. And then the other 19 are recovered. And we have 3.
I don't know if anybody else read today that Oregon's orders have been null and void. The courts threw them out. And the same lawsuit has been done in Washington. So here in a couple of weeks, ours may be also null and void. And then we won't have any of them orders anymore.
Yeah, that's correct. I got that report from my investigation intelligence officer this morning, or maybe this afternoon. Can't remember now. There is a court in Oregon that did make that decision today. It's automatically, nothing's changed because it's automatically being appealed by the state of Oregon. But we can see, we can expect the same, or if not similar, court cases to come and go throughout this process in Washington as well.
Anyone else for comments or questions? Lauren, in your letter, you had a reply, you had a couple of points, I'm not sure I have it in front of me now.
Mayor, this is Jeff.
Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Jeff King. I just wanted to make sure that everybody had a full understanding of what the quarantine and isolation shelter service being provided by all the stakeholders in Clickett County, which includes all 3 cities and all county residents, was really all about. There's nothing lying out there because it has continued to amaze me that people keep hanging on to the outright fabrications that were made last week about what was being done when they simply saw 3 or 4 camp trailers being parked at the RV camping spaces at the fairgrounds.
Does anybody have any?
I'll
Yeah.
take that to mean everybody has a good understanding, and I'm glad to hear that. I do also want to make sure that the council knows that although I report directly to the mayor as the emergency management director to the county, and as the emergency operations center to the commander, as well as the other 2 mayors and the county commissioners in my capacity, that it is my intent to make sure that everybody in positions of decision-making has the information that they need to make those decisions. As it is set up under the incident command system structure, there's a chain of reporting and a chain of command that we follow. So we will continue to distribute our daily situation reports to not only the mayors and the county commissioners, but all 18 fire chiefs in the county, emergency medical services, chief of operations, police chiefs, hospital administrators, and so on. We are, the Department of Emergency Management is in unified command with the Clickett County Public Health Department, and the Public Health Department also serves not only the county but all 3 cities. I'm the public health officer. Dr. Amy Person is the one with the true authority in a health emergency to make official recommendations to all the decision makers. So if at any point you have questions for the emergency management or public health, you can reach out to myself or interim director of public health, David Chavanaugh. We can answer your questions and make sure that you understand what's happening in your community and what you're being asked to make decisions about if you are, as well as set up a time if you'd like to talk to the public health officer, although she does also serve under contract, Benton and Franklin County Health, as well as Quick County. So she's a very busy woman at this time as well, but she's been more than accommodating to give us what we need when we need it.
So Jeff, this is Shannon. Is there anything that you could think of that the city could do to help push this along a little quicker, to get our businesses back up and running?
Not qualifying, hi Shannon, by the way, not qualifying for application of a variance, not, until we can get 3 weeks without any new cases at the county, there likely isn't anything. And with the situation that we've been in our county, everybody's talked about the wave and second wave and everything else. We're mostly being affected by some very early travel, either by residents outside the county and then coming back in, or people coming into the county and then leaving, that started our original cases, our cluster, especially in the Goldendale area, and then people not doing the right thing in between by going and having close contact with people outside the county. And we've seen spikes every so many days in a certain range. We'll have a spike, 1, 2, 3, 4 cases, over 2 or 3 days. And keep in mind that the time they're reported, there's a lag because the test takes, well, in the beginning it was taking 7 or 8 days to come back. Now they're coming back 24 to 36 hours from the time the samples are collected. But just keep that in mind, we're still talking about probably a 2-day lag by the time the health department gets that case reported. And sometimes when a lot of our folks, both from Skyline Hospital as well as KBH, get transferred to a Portland area hospital, and then it takes a little extra time for those test results or death notifications to come back to our public health across state lines. As well as one other factor that, in my professional opinion, I don't believe that, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it seems to be my position right now, that I don't see Clayton County being eligible just on that one point of no new cases for 3 weeks before the rest of the state is, unless things in the rest of the state continue, get really bad. Because up until this point, we have not done a significant amount of testing, and the more testing we do, the more cases we will find. Even if these people aren't seriously ill, there are a lot of people in our community that have it, so that's a double-edged sword. Glad that we don't have a lot of people seriously ill and in our hospitals and creating that stress on our first responders and our medical workers. But there's a lot of people walking around that don't know they have it, and they will be spreading it around if they're not taking the proper precautions. And so we will continue to see spikes. And as people come in and out of our county, whether they're people that live here and leave and come back, or will come in and leave, I expect that to continue. And that's just what I believe from what I have seen here and other places and the activity of some of our residents. Does that answer your question, Jen?
Yeah, kind of. So Oregon, their standard basically was no more than 5 new cases within 3 weeks. I honestly think the 0 case for 3 weeks is extreme. wondering why our mayor of each city, of the cities, and of the commissioners, why they can't send some form of letter requesting that we at least have that same standard of at least 5. I'm not sure you're ever gonna see 0 cases in 3 weeks.
If that was a question or comment for me, I'm sorry, but that's above my level. I will not answer that.
Well, I'm just, it could be for the mayor also, that the mayors and the commissioners get together, because I honestly believe that 0 cases for 3 weeks, you're not gonna see that. And we'll be stuck in phase 1 forever.
No, we'll move along with the rest of the state, because that's a county requirement to apply for variance to move ahead of the rest of the state. So the state, the governor
So we'll move,
stated, I don't know if it's apology, but his matrix for moving the whole state into phase 2 is a declining number of new cases for 3 weeks, not 0 new cases. So the difference between us moving along with the state as a whole and excluding the counties that have gotten an early variance is just that. We won't get to move ahead like Skamania County and the other, I think there's 6 or 8 of them now that got a variance. Maybe not that many yet officially
so that's
approved.
only, so that answers my question, that's only to get the variance. So when the state moves ahead to phase 2, Klickitat County will also move to phase 2, correct?
Under the current phased approach, yes, that's correct.
Which is, do they have a date for that?
No, it's not based on any date. One of the criteria, like I mentioned amongst many others, that's all data driven. One of those criteria is to have declining number of new cases for 3 weeks. And then there's other criteria as well as that. That's the one that's easiest for us to watch. But unfortunately, there are several factors in many counties, and Yakima County being the hot zone in our state right now. They have more cases per capita than any county on the West Coast last time I looked at it, not just in our state, and their increase. That they have, Yakima County alone has about the same number of cases and deaths as the whole state of Washington. And that just recently took off last week. The last number I saw was 78 deaths and like 1,500 cases in Yakima County alone. Look, you're right in the fact that when the governor's data indicates that it's time for the state to move to phase 2, we will move to phase 2 along with the rest of the counties, regardless of whether we've been able to meet the requirements to apply for a variance. Only if we want to move ahead of everybody else.
Okay, that answers my question.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments for Jeff King? Or for any of us? Lauren, did you
This
have?
is Lauren, and I've had a couple of folks approach me, and I'm just kind of curious to know what kind of protocols are in place for potential patients that are going to quarantine at the fairgrounds and how they're traveling through town, if they're allowed to make any stops or if they agree not to make stops, and then once they're in quarantine, if they're actually committed to staying out there on site and not making trips into town to get supplies, and then of course how are those supplies going to be provided to them? I guess not so much how, but just a confirmation that they will be supplied somehow, other than making trips themselves.
Okay, there was a lot there, but, more into, I think some of what your people are asking you to do, and that would qualify as a, mandatory quarantine situation. That's not the case, it's voluntary. So maybe I'll explain the process and the intent. It is the quarantine and isolation shelter facility and service is designed and set up and intended to be for people, mainly residents of Goldendale County, that cannot otherwise shelter in their primary residence. And I hope everybody's had a chance to read our media release from Thursday night. Goldendale County has voluntary shelters as needed, so we will not be mandating that they come there and have to stay there. It's voluntary. They're all going to be either our neighbors, friends, relatives from around the county, or someone that has come to the county, like in the case of a wildland fire or state mobilization, come here to work, and in some way, shape, or form, they can't safely quarantine at their primary residence, so they don't have one here locally. Construction workers, the same. So it wouldn't be safe for their family or the community at large for them to be in the quarantine awaiting a test, or be in isolation after a positive test for 14 days waiting to be cleared as recovered anywhere else. And these trailers are being made available for them to stay at. Once they've asked to stay there and voluntarily come to stay there, then we will provide for all their needs, which is the requirement of the state funding that we're getting. And just like we do for the Emergency Operations Center's essential delivery service, where people in high-risk categories or people that have chosen to quarantine or isolate themselves at home and not go out and risk infecting themselves or others, we will pick up all of their essential needs, whether that's groceries, take-out meals, medications, all of those things, and bring them to them to provide for the least opportunity for additional exposures in our communities. So this service has many facets that are all in the best interest of the residents of Goldendale County.
All right, thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome.
Yes, it does.
Thanks, Lauren. Thank you, Jeff. Any other questions or comments? Then we're going to go ahead and close the discussion. We appreciate very much, Jeff, that you came and answered some pretty tough questions and helped us understand a good bit more about this whole situation with COVID. And on my part, I'll be sending these copies of the situation meetings that you send out notices on, as well as any press releases. They'll go to all the council members. And if,
You're welcome, Mayor. If I might say one more thing.
Certainly.
I'd just like to remind everybody listening, council and the public, that everybody working for the Emergency Operations Center are residents of the county. A lot of them are volunteers doing this out of the kindness of their hearts. Some of them we've offered them temporary pay because they've been doing it way longer than any other incident that we've had in the county and had emergency operations in place for. And the majority of those volunteers have turned down that temporary pay, even though it was minimum wage that we're offering them. So these are good men and women that are volunteering their time, and also county and city employees that to some degree are also volunteering their time. Some of them could be doing their normal duties or taking time off because their offices are closed or unlimited to operations. So keep that in mind when you talk about Emergency Operations Center and even public health. Not sure remember that we don't want the citizens to ever think this is an us against them. This is all of us together trying to do what's right for the residents of our county. And these folks are putting out the extra effort, and some of them sacrificing greatly at this time to provide for public safety. And it would be great if we could get that message out to people instead of put a target on their back by indicating that they had something to do with what frankly was just ridiculous assertions of a few people on social media as to what was going on. So my EOC staff worked for many weeks, probably around a month, to try and figure out how to provide this service. As Mayor Cannon mentioned earlier, local hotels told us no, some of them, and some others were outside of our budget capabilities. So when we found this solution, we were very excited about that. And then what ensued afterwards and the way it was reacted to by certain people, not only in public, but also assumptions that were made by people that we all know and have respected, demoralized them. So we need to support them and build them back up. And that's my job. If there's anything you can do to help in that effort, I'd very much appreciate it. I thank you all for your service.
Thank you, Jeff, very, very much. We'll go on now to the report of officers and the city administrator. No, I'm sorry, department reports. When you don't have much of an agenda, it's hard to keep up with the ones that you do have. But on department reports, we'll begin with our fire chief, Steve.
Fire department, the only thing I'm gonna report tonight is just a reminder that the burn ban did go in effect on the 15th of May.
Very good. So that's in and
That's in effect now, so yes, no outdoor burning.
very good.
Did you say the 13th?
15th. And that's all I have.
Good, thank you, thank you. Reggie Markowski for our police department.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm happy to continue to report that the police department is still seeing a decrease in calls for service. So far in 2020, we've had 1,054 calls for service. In comparison to 2019, we had 1,190 calls as of this date. So that shows that we've had a decrease of 136 calls for service so far this year. Probably the most surprising number that I'm seeing is in our thefts and our burglaries, which are way down in comparison to last year. But with that, we have seen an increase in our welfare checks. Just as I said at our last council meeting, we're having a lot of citizens call us and want us to check on their family and their friends, especially when they don't live in this area. And the police department's happy to do that, especially for our citizens, to go and check on their family members. We are also seeing an increase in suspicious persons and activity. We're having a lot of citizens call in things that they think are looking unusual, and we're always happy to see those type of calls come into the police department. Right now, the police department continues to be very strong and healthy, and we're available for all of our citizen calls and calls for service. And Mayor, that's all I have for tonight.
That's a good report. Thank you, Reggie. Thank you. We'll go on now to report of officers and the city administrator. We'll begin with Larry Bellamy.
Just to follow up to the discussion we've been having about coronavirus, there was some of you may have already seen it, but there was an article in the New Yorker magazine regarding the Klickitat County and its turf war. The coronavirus, it's called the Coronavirus Turf War in Klickitat County, Washington. So if you just put in a search term that has New Yorker and Klickitat County, and you should be able to pick it right up. And that kind of describes a little bit about what's going on in Klickitat County from two sides of the spectrum, of course. So I just point that out as another way to get information about what's going on, and we'll go from there. But then I also wanted to report the Public Works crew is currently working on the following projects. They're sprucing up and addressing issues related to the water treatment systems, both the water supply and fixing some things at the well sites. We're focused a lot on parks and park maintenance. Spraying for unwanted grass and weeds is in full bore, especially on those days when it's calm. It's been pretty windy of late, and of course we don't want to spray when it's so windy. And then many of you have noticed that the flowers are up, and we do have Jerry working on those, keeping them moist. And then the FFA group has planted flowers in the half wine barrel planters down on Main Street, and then they have a couple places out, at least I believe this is still the case, but I haven't checked it out specifically, but I was told they were going to put some flowers at the intersections of Highway 97 and Simcoe and Broadway, and then also at the intersection with Simcoe and Roosevelt. So the city will be maintaining those last three that I just mentioned, and they'll be maintaining the hanging plants on the light poles. And then the Main Street business owners, we ask that they go out and water the plants that are in front of their places. So that way we can all participate in the maintenance of those plants. And then I did want to mention also that we opened up the parks for day use only, same as what State Parks has done. And then we are going to leave the restrooms closed at this time until we come up with a better plan for how to keep them clean, or decide what kind of notice needs to be placed on those doors. But the parks themselves are open, and the gate at Coney Park is open, but the bathrooms are not. In administration, we're focused primarily the last week, and this next week we'll be working on preparation of the annual report. And then the other thing we've been doing is kind of watching the finances every month to make sure that they are coming in accordance with the budget. It does appear that the retail sales and utility tax numbers are coming in at about 33%. This is for the period between January and April. So we're looking at a number that would be close to 33%. So retail sales were 32% and utility taxes were 39%. Property taxes, of course, are only at 2% because the bulk of the revenues come in May and November. So all the receipts are due by April 30th, but they don't get reported until the next month by the Treasurer's Office to the City of Goldendale. So you won't see the bump in the property tax revenues until May, and then in November likewise. Hotel motel tax is a little bit down. We're going to have to watch that one pretty close. They report about 3 months behind, but they're like at 21%. Water and sewer seems to be doing just fine. And then all of our expenditures are looking like they're in the right spot at the right time. So they're 33%, 32, 35, 32, 38, 30. So they're all good in the expenditure side. And that is it.
Good, thank you, Larry, thanks very much. Any of the council have something they want to bring to our attention?
Yeah, this is Shannon. I was curious about the parking spots that are blocked off down by Dr. Ogden's office and how the sidewalk's blocked off. Is there a reason for that?
Yes, there is a reason for that. If you look above in the facade that's right above the roof line of that Pat Ferrer's building, you'll see that some of the fascia materials have been chipping away and falling apart. And we have asked them to fix that, and in the meantime, because that material is actually falling off the facade, getting onto the roof, and could hit somebody down below on the sidewalk, we decided we need to let that owner know that we can't have that hazard continue, and that they need to get a contractor to come in there and fix the facade so it doesn't slough off anymore.
Okay.
So
And then the other question I had was, so the barrels downtown, some of those businesses aren't active right now. So some of those flowers probably aren't gonna get watered.
well, in that case, then I think we'll try to see if Jerry can go and watch those. Especially for the business
Okay.
owners that are not there. That's a good point. And I think it's only fair that we try to help them out.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Larry.
You bet.
This is Lauren. I know that you had mentioned that our public works staff are focusing on some parks works and weed spraying. I was just wondering if the baseball fields were getting some attention with this recent rain, and I'm sure some weed growth here and no utilization, so there may not be any calls for service, so to speak, to that. But I know we had some concern about that earlier in the year, so just kind of curious if folks are paying attention to that now.
Okay, I will double check. I have not talked with Doug Frantum about that, but I will double check with him and report back.
Anyone else?
Mayor, this is Mylan. Larry, on anything new on the potholes in town?
For quite a while, most of this year so far, Munson Paving, which is where we get our asphalt, hot mix asphalt, we get that from Munson Paving out of the Dalles, and they've been shut down for quite some time. And I believe they're gearing back up, and we should be able to address that here in the next month.
Okay, yeah. And one other comment, again, I'd like to comment on the flower pots in town on the streets. Again, they really look nice. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Mylan. Thank you. Anyone else?
Mayor, this is Andy Holm. I have a couple things. First thing, I've been approached by at least one really irate person and a few other people that weren't as happy about community days being canceled. And I just want to let everyone know, I feel that I can speak for all the council. It's not something we wanted to cancel, but it's something that it's a responsible thing to do because, in my opinion, being on budget committee and events committee, the money we could put out, potentially we could lose completely. And I just feel that as a city council member on both those committees, that I think it's the most responsible thing that we've been able to do. Second thing I have is a question for Reggie about enforcing social gatherings, and has there been any issues in Goldendale with that?
So Andy, what we're really focusing on with the police department is voluntary compliance. So anytime that we get a complaint from a citizen, what we do is we do respond, and we ask for voluntary compliance from whatever the situation is. And what's amazing is we're almost about 100% with compliance from everybody. And what we usually do say is it's for the safety of family and for our elderly. And most people completely understand that. And once we explain it to them, we really get a lot of compliance and really no issues. So it's been working very well for us.
Good.
Thank you, Reggie.
You're welcome.
Any other comments or questions?
Oh yeah, this is Shannon again. Now that Andy reminded me, because I'm old and I forget things. So we're not going to have community days, but maybe when we do get to a stage, hopefully sometime in the summer, maybe we can have some kind of event. It may not quite be community days, but maybe a community type of event to bring the community together. and, maybe get everybody back to being happy again.
It'd be great to be happy again, I'll tell you that, Shannon. Yeah, we might, depending on how things ease up as we go through the summer, hopefully we can organize a car show or a community picnic or something, but it'll have to be on those guidelines that right now we have to follow. Otherwise, we'll never get out of this situation.
Yeah, so I was thinking maybe during fair times, if they actually have the fair, that maybe we could do something that coincides with fair
Sure.
and, maybe like a family night out or a downtown get together, just something.
We're just gonna have to watch. We have no way in the world of knowing for sure what we're gonna be able to do. But I tell you, there's a lot of hope when you look at the horrific situation that Italy went through and France and a number of other foreign countries and New York City. And they're coming out of that. They're getting over it. So we're just kind of right in the middle of ours probably. But we'll get over that. We'll get through it and we'll be back to normal someday. And I don't believe in this new normal. I'm not going to let that be. I want normal. Are there any other comments from the council? Well, if you don't mind, the mayor has a short comment.
Somebody's squeaking.
It's a protest. The only thing, I hope people will keep a sense of humor and exercise as much patience as you can with anybody that you get frustrated with, and including the mayor. But we'll get through this. It's discouraging. It's sometimes absolutely disheartening, but we can beat this. We're Americans. We can do every bit of this. And that's my only thing to say. We'll go now to our public comments. If there's anyone on the line to make public comments, please let us know. We haven't been getting public comments. It may be that people would rather send in emails or something in the future, but we'll try to work with you to see how the public can have a chance to say something. Or maybe they're not listening at all. Hopefully that's not the case. If there are no public comments, the council doesn't have anything more to bring up or to raise. With that, we'll call for a motion to close the meeting.
So moved. This is Andy.
Second, Shannon.
It's been moved and seconded to close the city council meeting for May 18th. The next session of regular council will be June 1st. And at present, it will be also a virtual meeting. Thank you very much, everyone.